like Robin added. Yeah. Yeah.
You can probably just allow that.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Do you want to just let her in? Okay, let's get started. So first of all, we've got the opening karakia, which is going to be led by Tyler, but we've got it on the screen. So if everyone would like to, do you want to lead that, Tyler? Stand for that.
Can we kick it off, Samuel? Whakataka te hau ki te uru. Whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina ki uta. Kia mā tara ki tai. He hi ake ana te atakura. He tio, he huka, he hauhu, tihei maurio. Kia ora.
Great, thank you. So first up, apologies. We've got Councillor Henstock for lateness, Councillor Donovan for possible early departure. Councillor Templeton's here. Are you possible early departure or you're fine? Cool, okay. And then, and also just to note that Celeste is zooming in as well. She hasn't joined yet, so she's just texted to say she'll be zooming in. So Jake looks like he's happy to move them. Have you got something, Mark? Oh, you're happy to second? Oh, even better. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you. Just noting the declarations of interest for three of us on item 12 and Councillor Templeton on 14, 15, 17 and 18. Is there any other declarations of interest? No, that's fine. There are no public forums, are there, David?
No.
No. There are no deputations. There are no petitions. So we'll go straight to Christchurch NZ. So do you want to come on forward? Thank you.
Okay, good morning everybody. For those that I haven't met, my name is Paul Bingham. I am one of the independent directors for Christchurch NZ and currently the Deputy Chair as well. With me today we have Laura Dawson, who's the GM of Shared Services, and Tracy Wilson, GM Destination and Attraction, and finally Nick Bryan, who's GM Strategy, Insights and Policy. An apology from Ali Adams. She's actually in Wellington today meeting with the CE of one of our key business partners, MB. So apologies from her. So moving on, we're pleased to present the 2021-2022 annual report for Christchurch NZ Holdings and Christchurch NZ Limited. The 22 year was of course impacted by COVID, particularly in relation to events and tourism. We're looking at a year-end June period, so a little bit historic, but that's the way the process works. And of course, while it was not the year we had planned for, Christchurch NZ was able to successfully deliver against the majority of our KPIs and initiate several pieces of work that will be transformative in our economy going forward. So I'll now hand over to Laura. She'll talk through a few of the key points briefly, and then we're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you, Paul. We are pleased to be here to talk through the annual report for Christchurch NZ Holdings and Christchurch NZ Limited. A number of you were at our AGM on Friday night where we walked through our key outcomes and shared stories to outline the achievements during the 2021-22 year. Ali also recently presented to you all about Christchurch NZ and what we do. In light of these recent presentations, we didn't want to take too much of your time today. We have made sure that both of those presentations are available to you should you want more detailed information. As Paul has mentioned, our top-line results continue to be impacted by COVID, particularly major events and visitor attraction. We invested $22.6 million in our strategic outcomes for the year, of which $16.3 million came from Council. We have a number of return on investment measures which have been shared with you, but as a top line, this investment has resulted in a directly attributable increase in gross domestic product for Christchurch of $93 million, or nearly $6 for every dollar invested by Council in Christchurch NZ. Christchurch NZ also stimulated investment into the city, both private and public sector, in economic development of an estimated $123 million, which is around $7.70 for every dollar invested by Council. During the year, we achieved 12 out of our 14 key performance indicators and 26 out of 29 levels of service. Our contribution to visitor spend in the city and jobs created by major events were understandably impacted by COVID, and the development of new destination products and investment into the promotion and development of those new products was not achieved due to the impact of COVID on those businesses that would be developing and investing in these new products. You will see from our annual report we've accumulated funds of $4 million, largely from central government. These funds are committed to major events or COVID-related work programs that will be completed in the current financial year, or will need to be returned to central government based on our contractual requirements. CNZ retains a small amount of operating reserves to enable us to continue to manage our cash flow. During the year, we've continued to successfully deliver urban development functions on behalf of Development Christchurch Limited, as the final amalgamation is pending. And we've also initiated a significant and exciting piece of work supported by funding from central government to develop a city identity and destination management plans. We're really looking forward to sharing this work more with the ecosystem and yourselves over the coming months. It's really going to be transformative for the city. So I'm going to finish there and let you know that we're available to answer any detailed questions that you might have.
Great, thank you very much. And I mean, I know we've had several briefings on this as well, so it is really, or several briefings from Christchurch NZ, particularly for the new councillors. Does anyone have any questions? You don't have to have questions, but it's okay if you do. No? Perfect. It's pretty self-explanatory. Would someone like to move this? Sarah's happy to move it. Pauline will second it. All in favour? Aye. Against? That's carried. Great, thank you very much. That's excellent. Great, now next we've got David Kennedy. So David's on Zoom. Can you hear us, David?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Good morning.
Great. So we've got your paper there, which everyone will note has been updated in terms of so it highlights those key points and everything like that. Do you want to just talk through anything you think is worth adding, and then we'll just go straight to questions?
Thank you. Kia ora, Council. Just a couple of things that are updates since the report was first prepared, but I guess the most important thing to note initially is that as noted in the report in the second section, work is on program, is on budget, and there are no quality issues at present, so everything's going according to plan. Just a couple of updates. It says here that the traffic controls are established and we've got entry from Madras exiting onto Barbados. The contractors have decided to trial doing it the other way round and are currently having the entry onto the site from Barbados and exit onto Madras. I just think that the way the traffic is seeming to flow around the CBD, that is less disruptive, both for things that are coming to the site, but also for the surrounding street network. So that's a change that's just occurred. Probably the other thing of interest to you that I can expand on briefly is that we had a community meeting on the 8th of November. We had about 8 members of the public come to it. We invite all of the surrounding areas. We give them a brief presentation from the building contractor about what's happening currently on site and what's about to happen. They expressed strong interest in that and would like to have quarterly meetings, which we'll undertake. We'll also have meetings with them on an as-required basis if anything else pops up. The main concerns they raised were vibration from the piling work and the spreading of dust from the site. We've talked with the contractor about those issues and asked the contractor to visit the specific homes that have commented on vibration. Fortunately, work has now moved away from those areas and as it moves around the site. So if there's anything further we need to do in terms of communications with those people, the building contractor has been asked to do that. And they have also begun to introduce additional dust suppression measures around the site. It seems obviously when there's a nice calm Canterbury day, we don't have dust problems, but when the northwest blows, it does tend to spread dust from all the construction sites in the city around a bit, but we'll continue doing what we can to suppress that. They've poured a small amount of concrete just to sort of set some platforms already. Significant concrete pours. They were trying to undertake the first one of those before Christmas. It's now probably 50-50 as to whether they'll get one done before Christmas or after Christmas. And once we, the building contractors are working with council officers to determine the best times of day or night and mediation measures for having a lot of concrete trucks turn up at the same time or over a prolonged period. So they're working with council officers to come up with the best solution there. Once we know what that is, we will communicate that with the surrounding community as well. Chair, those are my updates. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That's very useful and it's a really good report. Does anyone have any questions? Yep. Great. So we'll go Aaron and then Yanni.
Yeah, thanks for the update, David. Hey, just a very basic question. Have we set up a camera for some stop motion of the site coming out the ground and you turn it into a video in 4 years' time?
The contractors have set a camera up across the road at a decent height, so we'll have a sequential time motion sort of video of the whole project.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. I was just wondering, in regards to design around having active edges, if there's any more work being done on the sorts of facilities that you might like to have. Obviously, we're in the middle of a street consultation that shows, vibrancy and lots of activation. But just in regards to the design, I still don't really get a sense of what activations the stadium's going to have when there's not big events on. And just wondering if there's what the opportunity is to look at, bars, cafes, restaurants, other businesses that might go on that ground floor.
Yes, Venues Otatahi, who will be the operator of the facility once it's complete, are working with council and themselves with respect to activations and putting in place over time a sort of a plan for how that will all work. So that's probably something that we could get some more information for you from VO.
Sorry, I should be more specific. I'm just interested in the actual design itself, whether it's allowing for any sort of ground floor activation along that, probably Madras Street, but maybe the other areas. Is it envisaged that there'll be any sort of permanent hospitality?
There are some permanent opportunities for, I suppose you'd say, tenancies, not completely all the way around the bottom of the building, but parts of it, yes.
Right. And when would we be in a position to likely understand what those opportunities are?
Look, I'll have to talk with Venues Otatahi and come back to you, because that's something that they will be working on in terms of what the ideal mix of uses and things are.
Okay, thank you. Just the final question from me is in regards to, and it may not be it may not be appropriate for you, it may be appropriate for our staff, but in terms of external fundraising, either from our regional partners or from philanthropics.
I think you're probably right. That's something we can take offline. I don't think that's a question for David today.
Right.
Yeah. Great. Any other questions? So Phil's happy to move it. Pauline looks like she's happy to second it. Any discussion?
Sorry. Well, I appreciate that we've got the Te Kaha project is from the delivery board. What's the opportunity for us as councillors to ask staff what's happening around those things like that external funding?
We can ask staff to come back and give some feedback on that, but we don't have the staff here to actually answer all that completely.
Right. Could we just get a note maybe to get an update on the approaches to our regional partners and to philanthropics?
Yep.
Cool.
No, good as gold. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thanks very much, David.
Thank you.
Okay, Peter, item number 9, the organisational performance results.
I've been asked to introduce this by giving a little context to the group of reports that you're seeing, and that's especially, I think, for the new councillors. So just to take a moment, you get 3 reports as a group here. The first one is the organisational performance report. It's meant to be an overview of the vital few performance targets for the organisation. So it's things like service delivery, capital delivery, budget, and so forth. So it is a report against targets and shows past performance trends. The second 2 are finance and capital reports, and they're much more granular, much more detailed. They're not based on targets. They're about the information about what's happening at a more granular level. So that's the purpose of these three travelling together. I head up the corporate planning and performance team, so we'll be spending quite a bit of time together on the annual plan and LTP. But this is the other end of the pipe. This is how we're going against the last LTP. That's what our performance reporting is based on. So, moving to what's in the report, there's not a huge amount of change from last month. I think that's because largely the circumstances that we're in have not changed that much in a month. Levels of service are much the same. They are slightly above target. We have had some continuing effect from COVID, particularly things that involve international visitors, so galleries and museums, but there are also staffing impacts on staffing. As you're aware, COVID is back in the community in some force and schools. That has the same effect on our staff as it does on the rest of the community. We've got people who've had to patch together rosters and maintain services even though they're suffering from the same problems that everyone else is. We're also suffering from the same things that every organisation in New Zealand has in terms of difficulty in recruiting quality applicants. They're just not out there. There's complexity and fatigue. So I'd just like to acknowledge all those people who've maintained their services while a lot of organisations have actually not been able to. In terms of capital, both watch list and non-watch list projects are up slightly but still below where we wanted to be. Now, you've been across the reasons for this ad nauseum around supply chain issues, Ukraine, COVID, logistics, and so forth. That doesn't show any particular signs of changing that set of circumstances in the short term. The capital report will go into individual projects in much more detail, but overall that situation still remains. Capital planning, which is feeding the other end of the pipe to make sure we're ready to deliver, is still at a relatively low level, but that is actually relatively normal for this time in the cycle. If it continues to stay low, we'll bring that to your attention and seek some remedial actions. But at this time, it's on the cusp of being a concern. Financially, in terms of operating expenditure, we're in surplus to the tune of 2.4 million. That's not as big as it sounds, but it's still on the bright side. And of course, capital spend is a little lower in keeping with capital delivery than we'd like for the same reasons that I just explained. So again, not a huge amount of variation from last month, but what is different is that you'll find a large attachment to the report called 6-month update to elected members. Now you may recall when the annual resident survey came out, council went through the results, and in particular the chair was keen to see comments from staff about how they interpret those results relative to their service that they're running and what they intend to do going forward. Now, in some cases, they're high performers, and what they're doing is simply saying, this is how we're going to maintain high performance. In other cases, it's not so good, and we're seeking from them the remedial actions that they'll take. Now, you got a report in May. The request was for a 6-monthly update, and of course, this is it. It's extensive, but that is because of the sheer breadth of our products and services. So please keep in mind, not everything in here is a big fix. There are things that are already high performers. I don't intend to go through it page by page, but obviously you'll have areas of special interest. A lot of the information in here is subject matter expert and quite technical. So if you do have a question, I probably prefer that you flick it to me and I can work with the head of service to come back to you rather than trying to sort of wing it on the day against a very, very detailed catalogue of remedial actions. The key thing here is to provide you with assurance that staff, particularly managers, heads of service, are focusing on this and actively working towards a better set of results next time round and explaining to you transparently and to the public how they intend to achieve that. So I hope that answers your query. So look, that's the vital few in a nutshell. I won't labour it because there's not a lot of change. So I guess it's over to you.
Thank you, Peter. That's really useful, and that is a great report as well in terms of talking about how we can change some things going forward. I just had one, but I'm noting your comment about flicking them to you as opposed to doing it on the spot. It was probably around in that report around the roading and the footpath conditions and some stuff, but perhaps I might take that offline and set the example. Does anyone else have questions for Peter? Yanni?
Sorry, I thought we were getting a comprehensive report back on the footpath condition assessment, like why we stopped assessing it, how we were going to catch up, etc. Is that still happening?
So if I read that correctly, we took money off budget in 2017, so we stopped doing it, but we've reinstated it and it'll be done by May of next year.
Yeah, at the last meeting when we discussed the performance, I thought we were going to get briefed on kind of what was happening. I mean, just to give you an example, like I just went and looked.
No, don't worry. Lynette,
So my understanding is you've had memo back. If it hasn't, it's in the pipeline to come back to you from the team that were here at the last meeting when it was requested.
Yeah.
Getting a briefing slot.
Okay.
That information has come back to you.
Just
my
a memo.
understanding.
Okay. So like.
But just on that, Yanni, though, if in there it talks about how the fact that they obviously stopped it in 2017, but then we'll effectively have that condition assessment by May 23. If I'm
Footpath condition is a very difficult thing to collect, and it's very, very expensive. So we're working through solutions at the moment.
yeah, but am I right in saying though we're going to have
We have a lot of information, so we are combining it all together, and they are building it up. That's what the memo.
Yeah. So if you recall, yesterday we had an excellent presentation from the Three Waters Department, and they had that really cool, condition assessment, all the stuff that we've done around infrastructure assessment. They gave a really good description of how they were working out what the priorities were based on the technology and all the stuff that we'd been, know that we've been doing for the last 5 years around condition assessment.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I was just interested around the footpaths, around if there's any ability for staff. Like I just went and looked at a cycleway project last night, and the cycleway looks great and people are really happy with it. But the footpath next to it has got holes everywhere, is uneven. And you just kind of wonder, is anyone looking at synergies around where we're doing works to look at the footpath and do it at the same time?
I think Peter's got something to add, and then we'll
Just to recap, there's a repeat of last month's advice in the staff advice, which is funds have been secured in a condition rating for 1,100 footpaths contracted with surveyors, and there is in parallel work with the University of Canterbury to develop state-of-the-art technology around this, plus the briefing that Lynette's referring to.
Yeah.
So I
So
think
is there something else you want? Because we can.
Yeah, so just at a simple level, in terms of like when we're doing projects, I've been given several examples from the community where we fix the road,
Yeah.
but
No,
we leave
so
the
I get completely your point. What exactly is it you want from the elected council today?
So I just wanted to understand from staff in terms of addressing that dissatisfaction, if there's anything we can do in the short term where it makes sense around looking at a holistic approach to some of our projects.
So we'll get Lynette. Can you?
So, the classic one would be cycleways, where we're spending a lot of money on the cycleway delivery. And actually, in the adjacent corridor, there may be footpaths that are in pretty terrible condition that are, maybe they're just being left for a reason, or maybe they're going to come back to it. I don't know, but it would seem a sensible
let's
thing
hear
to
from
do.
Lynette.
So there have been. So first thing is, Peter pointed out the list of information that's coming back and the changes that we are making around footpath condition assessments. Footpath condition assessments are difficult because you literally have to walk them in order to do it. So they are time consuming and expensive to get that information, and we are working on gathering that information. Because we do not have a legal option for putting a vehicle down a footpath. So just to be really clear on that one. With regard to looking at synergies, as we have discussed, and I've discussed on many, many occasions, I know this is new for some of you, but some of you it's not. We look at synergies on every single project, whether that's within our own unit or between units at council, or opportunities with our partner companies such as Orion and others. We do our best to achieve that every single time, but that doesn't always mean it happens, and I'm okay with that as well, because we have a limited budget that we have to make decisions on sometimes. Another piece of information that I'd like to pass on to the council today, which has been around for a long time and being passed on to councillors that have been here for a long time, is that when we do cycleway work, there was an assessment done a number of years ago. Approximately 30% of that is benefit that is outside of the actual cycleway facility that we're building. So yes, it is improvements to roads, footpaths, undergrounding utilities, all the other things. So approximately 30% of the work. Now that would go across a lot of our projects.
Yeah, I've just been shocked to see some of the places where we have done cycleways.
Yeah, so does that answer your question?
Well, can we get, maybe I'll just put in the examples and then you guys can, I'll send them around and send you the photos and then maybe you guys can decide.
Yep, send them to
Can
them.
I-
Do something.
Can I ask that the councillors please, if you see something like that, or there is a fault, that you log a SnapSend solve, because that goes to our contractors. They then get the information and then we can action it. Sending it round the organisation, it takes a lot longer to get to the contractor. So log a SnapSend solve,
Yeah,
take a
it's just-
photo, log it, and put it through. We monitor the SnapSend solves, we monitor the hybris tickets, and we then look at where we're getting a lot of tickets, and that helps
No, I
us
think
prioritise our work.
you've made, that's good. Okay, Mark, and then Aaron, and then Phil, and then Tim. Just bear in mind I'm going to be calm for the first minute. Bear in mind the purpose of this report as well. Yes, when you're asking your questions.
No, certainly do bear that in mind. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just developing that slightly further, one of the recently completed cycle routes through High and Hornby, just noting the second half of the road that's been left behind from that, where you've got this wonderful new cycleway, which is going to be good in time, but the rest of the road is left in an absolutely shocking state. And it'd be good for us to get that idea going forward as to how we can try and alleviate the nice, beautiful cycle route versus the left behinds, and the plans that we can have to catch everything up would be useful.
So if there are, unless I've got something wrong, if there are specific examples, Lynette's saying, firstly raise them, but secondly, the capital performance report is also probably the place that this is more about, unless I've mistaken it for the last couple of years, the levels of service and everything. So it's that holistic view of council and where those are. So I'm not saying it's an invalid question, it's probably needs to be staggered down the line. So on that basis, does anyone, Aaron, you got a question? Or is that...
Well, I personally blame Yanni for opening the hornet's nest of footpaths, Mr. Chair. But on that hornet's nest, the new mayor had a suggestion around a roving work group that did footpaths all the time. Is that possible? How would we progress that going forward?
Can we suggest we bring this up in the capital report in regards to transport? Is there any questions in regards to the performance report that Peter has actually
Once again, I
asked?
blame Yanni.
So thanks, Leah, but I can probably do it. Tim, yeah.
Thank you. Peter, technically away from the hornet's nest, with regards, and I asked this question last time when it was mentioned about going to the university. Now, if I'm correct, developing a program or system to assess the condition of footpaths, is that what we're doing there? And that's in partnership, or is that paying the university? Yeah. Could I get some information on that, because I'd like to get some information on how the process of that.
Cool.
Well, this may not be the forum for it, but that's a question I asked last time.
No, good point. You'll do yours great. Melanie?
This is just about one of the building regulation measures, auditing 20% of building stock, and then it says how many audits have been carried out, but it doesn't say the percentage, so I can't tell, how good or bad that is. 138.
If you just bear with me for a moment. I don't remember all this stuff off the top of my head.
It's the top one on that page.
So, warrants of fitness. Is that the one?
Yeah.
61 audits year to date.
Yeah, but it says that the target's each year to audit 20%,
okay.
but I don't know how many buildings we have, so what the percentage is actually.
There's a mismatch there between percentage and number. So look, I'll sort that out, and I'll send the final figure back to you.
Great. So on that basis, I'm happy to move this report. Are you happy to second it, Yanni? You got another question? Yeah. Melanie's happy to second it. Okay. What's your question?
Cool. Just in terms of the page 137. It's the regional sports organisation satisfaction, and we're not meeting the target, and it says remedial action, and I just want to commend staff. I think the remedial actions in this report are really good. Like, they're a lot better than what we've had previously, and they do give us a sense of what work is being done. I guess I was just concerned under the remedial action on that particular measure that there's no time frame put in around our sports network plan, and I know staff have been working on it for a very long time, and some of us have been trying to get it developed so that it can inform our budget spend. So I just wondered if it was possible to get a time frame. Like, I know staff have said that it'll be ready to inform the LTP, but I guess I was more interested in how we're communicating with the sports codes who are aware of that plan, who are making submissions probably to our annual plan and to boards and to council around the time frame of that being, draft, consulted, and then adopted.
Okay. So that's fine. Andrew, can you take that offline and have a look at it? Sure. Great. Thank you. Okay, so we've had that moved in.
Oh, and then there was another question. I don't know. It's just the inner city parks as well. Like, just seems that we seem to have a problem with Otakarose planting, and I wonder if we're getting any information about the additional costs that we're faced with around increased maintenance. I think this is just on page 136. Original planting by the terraces installed by Otakarose Limited are not performing well season to season. And it said we need more planting and infrastructure, including replacement with alternative, more suitable species. So I'm just concerned that might have a financial impact on us, and to understand the scale of what's proposed.
So do we have a defect liability clause for plantings? Because that's not silly, is it?
Yeah, good point. Okay, so we'll get some information on that as well. We'll anything, I suspect. Great. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Oh, you got a question? Oh, you want to discuss it? Yep.
I actually just wanted to take the opportunity to thank staff. And the SnapSend solve that Lynette brought up is absolutely awesome, particularly in Riccarton. So I just wanted that to be noted. Thank you.
Very good. On that note, all in favour? Against? That's carried. Excellent. Yep. Item number 10. Russell, are you... Oh, yep. Come on through the financial report.
Good morning, all. So the financial report reporting the position as at the end of October. So we had a operational surplus of, as the report sets out, $9.2 million, which was forecast to be 2.4 at the end of the year. Some main reasons for that position are set out in the report. We've received higher rates revenues, so that's the additional rating properties that we have that we more than we budgeted. Transwaste dividends are up, and we've lower insurance premiums for the year. Expenditure is 3.5 million lower than budget for year to date, but it's expected to be up at the end of the year by $2.7 million, and that'll be just around the timing of expenditure coming through for the year. So part of that is higher debt funding costs because of the interest rate rising, building consent, additional costs in carrying out that activity, but noting also that we've received higher revenue or budgeted for higher revenue in that space as well. So just moving down the page in capital. So we're saying that at the moment the total capital program is forecast to be $14.1 million underspent at the end of the year. Now that's there's two parts of that. Part is that the core program, which is we're flagging about almost $78 million will be carried forward, and there's bringing forward the Takaha project of about $64 million. So that the net of that is 14.1 at year end, which we're expecting to be. The Treasury, there's a lot of detail in the report, so I won't go through all the rest, but I'll say that the Treasury matrices, they're all within policy. Debt, both the general debt and rates debt, is down. And on page 195 of the agenda, just draw your attention to that little graph, which is quite a pleasing position. It's showing the average, if you like, of 90-day rates debt as a percentage of annual strike rate. So it's annual rate strike. So that's going back to April 2016, and you can see that it's the pleasing part is the trending down of that. So that's I think a good aspect. But happy to present the report and take any questions, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you. It's a really, really good report. Does anyone have questions on that? No, I'm happy to move it. Melanie's happy to second it. Is there any discussion? All in favour, say aye. Aye. Against? It's carried. Thank you. That's really useful. And it's good to see that trending down too.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. Andrew, do you want to come up and do the capital program performance report? And then I think, Lynette, you've got something to add to this one as well, haven't you? So do you want to you might as well come up now. Great.
Kia ora. Did you want me to cover the purpose of the report and
I think that would be useful.
PMO outline as well?
Yeah, that would be really good.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Thanks.
Okay,
just on that, we've had feedback online that we're not, if everyone can sort of speak up into their microphones a wee bit, it just seems a bit quieter, but the team have got them maxed out, so if we can do that for people listening, that would be good. That doesn't necessarily mean more questions, just speaking louder.
Where'd that come from? Okay, just to start off with, briefly, I'll just give you a reminder of the purpose of the PMO. I covered this in the induction briefings. So the PMO exists to look after the project management framework and project governance systems. We have systems that align with industry best practice. Our role does cover multiple service areas across the council, and in essence we provide the kaitiakatanga, the sort of guardianship of the process and tools that project managers use. Second key point is we provide reporting and transparency, and that's probably one of the main purposes why I'm here today with the report. Through that, we offer a degree of independence from the project managers and the service areas, being able to look a little bit more dispassionately about project performance and report on that accordingly. As you know, we also look after the change management process, and you see that on a quarterly basis with the summary of changes that have occurred within the delegation framework. We also provide information to the industry liaison groups in contractors forums. We do that twice a year, particularly around annual plan time and draft annual plan, to give the industry a heads up about the workload that's coming up. We're working closely with the procurement department, Joe Vanderheever and his team, around some supplier relationship management tools at the moment as well to improve on that. And lastly, the third point is some specialist sort of advice and guidance on things such as, most particularly and topically at the moment, the annual plan. But we also look at reviews, capability building, some risks and lessons learned as well. So it's just a quick refresh of what the PMO is all about. In terms of the purpose of the report, we provide a program level view across the total capital program, if you like, a city-wide view. Within the capital program, there are over 900 projects. In our report, you'll see about 100 of them through the top 10s, 20s and so forth. So I don't know the detail of every project. When you ask a specific question about a water main and a clash with an Orion cable on a footpath somewhere in the city, but I will be supported by my colleagues, heads of service, who may know that detail. So I guess in that sense, in terms of the purpose of the report, think of it as a citywide view first and foremost, and obviously it is a forum for asking things around perhaps more a ward or community board level. But if you get into too much detail there's possibly better forums for that. And with that note, I think we've kind of got a bit of an exception today. We're going to dive into the craft program a little bit more after a series of questions on that over previous months, and Lynette's going to help me with that at the...
Now.
Are you going to do that now?
Why not?
Okay, we're going to do craft first. There you go. Yeah, sure.
Kia ora koutou. I wanted to give you a very brief update on the CREF program. There has been a number of questions recently. there have been a number of questions over the last few months, of which there's been, responses to all of them, or responses on the day. However, what I'd just like to put a bit of context around it. I promise I've only got about 4 or 5 slides here. You've got them all on your hub, your big tin can, so that they are there for you to reference back to. But in a nutshell, the CRAF as a acronym stands for Capital Regeneration Acceleration Facility. It was announced, what we needed to do to get the money for the transport projects was to submit an investment proposal to government, to Treasury, to get it signed off. We had to have a business case for doing that. Effectively, that business case built up to the fact that we wanted to put forward, we were putting forward projects that wouldn't otherwise have been done as part of the long-term plan, hence the acceleration word. Not do them fast. They wouldn't have otherwise been done in the 10-year period. So we're bringing forward work to improve the livability, the connectivity and the safety and road conditions in targeted areas across the city. That investment proposal was submitted and accepted by Treasury, and then we had to write a very large and detailed investment case. That was submitted to Treasury and finally accepted in 2020. So there was about a 2-year period just to get all that paperwork and that investment proposal agreed and approved. Ultimately, in a nutshell, it came down to 3 main phases. We had 5 area-wide improvements. So this is about the livability of areas. It's how easy it is to get around, how safe it is for those communities. So improving that. 5 areas that are listed up there. We also had 5 million for citywide safety improvements and safety priorities, and 5 million allocated for public transport improvements. And the projects in public transport improvements are to be pulled out of the PT Futures business case, which at that stage wasn't endorsed. A bit more on the process. So that got approved by Treasury, and we then did, staff actually walked, we're just talking about the 5 areas at this stage, staff walked every part of those 5 areas to do an assessment of that. Then they took that information, put it together into long lists for the using the priorities of the investment case that we'd had agreed by Treasury, created long lists that they took to the community boards and the community to get feedback. They then had a number of briefings with community boards in the 5 areas. And the decisions for the programs of work went to the community boards. So the community boards discussed it. The feedback we've had from the community boards around the process has been really positive. They've been very detailed, and there's been a huge amount of information for them to consider to create those programs. The timing of those decisions is listed up there. The last of those decisions came through in September of this year. We've met with the community boards on many occasions. There's a total of 17 meetings over the 5 areas up there with the different boards. Some of those have been joint meetings with 2 boards. And so it's been a very time-consuming process, and we have done a lot of work. Now, just to pull you forward, these are the programs of works that have been agreed by the boards. And there's an indicative date there. I know it's small up there on the... So since we've had the decisions on what is going to be done, we've then been able to reprioritise and reforecast when we can get the jobs done. Now, a number of the projects that were in that long list could just be done, but it was the board's decision, and in some cases the board's decision to take, in all cases it was the board's decision to prioritise the different works. The information they had said whether it would or would not require further consultation. So that first green column is whether we require more consultation on that individual project. So that'll be site-specific consultation, but it still has to be done. Some of them are underway, particularly all the speed zones, and the expected dates range between December of 2023 and June of 2025. That's the last two areas. So overall, we've got 5 areas. 40% of these projects in the 5 areas will be finished by June 2024. 78% will be finished by December of 2024. The last 20% will be done between December and June of 2025. And as you've asked us on many occasions over the last few years, you've asked us to provide you with a realistic timeframe. That's what we've put in. The other 2 programs of work are the safety program. There's a big chunk of that that's been done. We've spent almost half of the money already on projects. The ones that are still going are the ones that we have to do more extensive consultation on. The bus projects have just started coming out, and we're starting to work on those, so that we haven't quite got timeframes for those. The PT Futures business case was only endorsed earlier this year by the Waka Kotahi board. So that's where we're at with CRAF. There's plenty going on, there's plenty of work going on, and we've been working closely with the community boards to get this program realistic.
Great, thank you very much. So we'll go to questions now on everything. Maybe we don't have any questions? Yanni.
Just in terms of the dates, obviously the date you've got for our board is slightly misleading. We only revisited one project that the staff had spent money doing, maintenance money, which we had scheduled for renewal. So all of our projects were agreed except for one, which was from that April thing. So we didn't reconfirm the whole program. It was only one. So what I'm trying to understand, though, is you say you've got contractors appointed.
Yep, we have got contractors
So
appointed.
have we got prices locked in?
Well, no, because we haven't got this. We only got the scope agreed on these. So let me go back up to that. So the first point.
Yeah, so
It clearly says up there that it was approved in April and it was reconfirmed after a site visit in August of 19.
There was only one.
Then we had Riccarton in July, Spraydon, Summerfield, Waltham, Beckenham, which was a joint Linwood Heathcote Central Board and Spraydon Cashmere Board. I understand that was August, and then we had on the 12th of August, and then we had
Right,
Brighton
but
on 12th
just regardless, like if you take the Linwood Walston ones, everything except the one in Holbert Street renewal was confirmed on April 13th.
Yes, it is.
Have any of those other projects been designed yet or being out for
Staff are
consultation?
working on design of all of those. We're working forward. It's a huge program of work. We are working on the design, and we have given you a realistic time frame to deliver.
So just in terms of our resources as a council, though, and I know that we've got resource constraints, what I can't understand with these CRAF ones that we approved like in April is how we don't have designs for them in consultation, but the stadium streets, which we approved in July or the start of July or end of June, already have beautiful designs, already are out for consultation. Like how does that work in terms of our priority as a council when things that we've approved earlier still aren't even out for consultation, but other things that we've approved later?
So are you maybe to put it a different way, if we want to speed this up, Lynette, what's the mechanism to do that?
Technically, it's kind of.
Can we just let Lynette answer?
Well, it's unfair because what are we speeding up? Are we going to speed up Yanni's area? Are we going to speed up someone else's area? What are we speeding up? Are we going to speed a whole lot up?
I don't want to have a debate about it. I just want Yanni's.
Well, you know,
we've
like
given you
Richmond.
realistic.
Stop.
We've given you realistic timeframes, given all the demands we've got across all of the programs of work that we've got. That's why we're working on the safety ones. We've got got on with them. So the team have worked on them. They're reasonably straightforward designs. There's limited design required. Most of the decisions on there's only one. If you look at the Linwood Woolston, because it was raised as an example, there's only one that has limited consultation. That's going to be finished by January next year, January 24. So we are trying to get on with it. I don't know how to answer the question. I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
We've got a whole program of LTP. We've got a whole program of the LTP. We have got competing demands. You've been briefed extensively on the other project.
Put it a different way, and we'll try it. And I get where you're coming from. If we were of the mind to speed that up, that would be an annual plan process.
Yes,
where
it would be.
Drag forward the funding and then push other things out.
Yes, it
in
would
terms
be.
of our deliverability. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But
great.
what's currently like with the performance report, the capital we do get. We are getting tracking of the money that's being spent in the year. Do we have that for these ones in terms of the 5 areas by the community boards?
That's in the watch list report.
Yeah, there's a more detailed watch list provided in the capital report this month as well. So the CRAF program level projects, the 7 programs went on to the watch list this month as requested last month. Yeah. So it's the very last pages of the watch list.
It
It's
is
3
in
pages.
there.
Yeah. So what resource do you like? Because the annual plan is for next year, but we've currently got. Can you tell me how much money we've got then on this year, this current financial year, for these projects, and what the forecast is for it being, what percentage is going to be spent?
No, not off the. I can't wing it.
Yeah.
Right.
We're having a discussion on Friday.
They
as well.
will be in your schedules you've got around the annual plan.
Yeah. Okay, so I think Dawn wants to add something, and you go for it. And then I've got a couple more questions. I just want to move around, Yanni, and we can come back to you if we need.
Yeah, I just want to know what resources required to keep them on for the June 24 target, and also, like at a governance level, what is it that we need to do to say that these are a priority and we want these to deliver?
Let's hear from the Chief Executive, then I'll move around and we can come back to you.
Can I just, at point of order, I think, if I may, that Lanita's telling us that they are already a priority. So why can
We're working on
well,
them.
why is he asking for something that he's been
Yeah,
told
we've
the opposite?
Things that have been approved
Not
later
sure it's quite
are getting
applicable, but
delivered.
We'll just move to
and
Dawn.
these aren't.
So stop. Can everyone just stop? We'll try and have a good first meeting. Can we go to Dawn, and then I want to move around and we can come back to you, Yanni. So Dawn.
So there are 2 points and I want to stress them. The first is that absolutely must be through the annual plan process. And second, the transport team, like every other team in this council, but particularly the transport team, is absolutely working its guts out, both in terms of delivery and breadth of programme. Lynette has given very clear both advice and information that shows that this programme, to be able to be delivered, and the strategic priorities you as council have set for me and my team around deliverability and affordability, that is the clear advice. I cannot get more blood out of a stone, and I'm not prepared to put staff under extreme pressure to try and do something that just isn't possible unless you fundamentally change the programme under the annual plan. And I think that's as strong as I can put it, Chair.
No, that's useful. Thank you. Phil.
Just so I'm clear, CRAF money is not shovel-ready money, is it?
No, you're correct. It's a different fund.
Okay. So out of the 40 million, how much has been spent roughly so far within the nearest million? Very roughly.
That's on your watch list. 1, 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. About 3.
Okay. So we've got the thick end of 35 left, so to speak.
The bulk of which is sitting in those 5 areas.
Yeah. Roughly, how are we spending a lot on design and consultation and not that much on actually doing it? Or
that is actually, we've hardly spent anything on design and consultation.
Okay. So and the last question is, see, take the likes of Marine Parade or something like that. I can't understand why because we're practically January 23 now, why it takes 2 years to design and build a road, because I know how long that road is. And that's the bit that I think Yanni's on about, is why does that take so long when other ones appear to be pushed in front of it? And I know they're in the annual plan, or is it up to us to change the annual plan and inject that $40 million of government money, which was free to us, it's not ratepayers' money, I think he just wants to substitute all of that 40 million versus and push out stuff that our ratepayers have been rated for.
Okay, so that's a question. That's
I think we've had that
Okay,
asked and
so
answered,
I have tried to answer that. I will answer that a slightly different way. We have obligations when we do any work on the network to meet our obligations under the Local Government Act around consultation. So we went out and consulted on what work are we going to do. But when it comes down to, and Marine Parade is a good example, we have spent a lot of time and money, and some money, doing the pavement investigations and understanding the extent of work that needed to be done, and there's been multiple to and fro's with the board. I think, Kelly, you've been involved in a lot of that as well. There's been a lot of information collected to inform what are we going to design, but we are making changes to that road network that will involve no stopping lines, it'll involve the installation of pedestrian islands, that we're obligated to go and consult on that. The process we've just gone through took us quite a while to get to what are we going to do as a program. We then have to ask the public again, because they are directly affected, what are your thoughts and views about this design, because that hasn't been put in front of them at this stage.
Okay, so just
that's why it takes a bit longer.
Yeah, so just roughly, because we're all in theory, our kick-off date is the 1st of January next year. It would normally take on a job that size 2 years to design, consult, and build.
Well, it'll normally take 18 months, but we want to build it in sealing season so we maximise the opportunity for success. So yes, 2 years when you're doing a significant sealing job.
Rebuild job.
Rebuild job like that, yeah,
Thank
which
you.
involves surfacing.
Thank you. Jake.
I just wanted to know if you wanted to comment on the comparator between the Te Kaha surrounds and, say, the Craft streets. I mean, my understanding is those surrounds have been in the plan for a very, very long time. The work has been developed and managed in an orderly fashion. We've then signed off on a project that is essentially finished from the organisational end of things. Just got to actually build the stuff now. And versus projects that are essentially signing off on a concept. I just want to know if you had any comments.
I've got nothing much more to add, actually. That's exactly what I would have said. Don't
ask loaded questions.
And these are all projects,
question is,
like
would
I
you like to
said
comment?
right at the start, these are all projects that would not have been done as part of the LTP, the 10-year LTP. So when we were doing the LTP, these weren't projects that were part of it. So we've pushed more into what we're doing.
And so when were those street surrounds first envisioned?
Prior to that, they were part of the blueprint. So prior to the long-term plan.
Over 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Great. Thank you, Jake. Mel.
What I was going to ask about is the ones in Riccarton where no consultation is required, the street restorations, which I don't know what a restoration actually is, and it's just disappeared. But so that is, that one's a year away. So is that?
My understanding is they're more like for like cleanups. So they're more like more significant maintenance work. If that, as an example, so they're a like-for-like replacement that wouldn't require consultation. So staff have done an assessment on the long list of work that went to each of the boards. Staff did an assessment on whether there would be significant or whether there would be consultation requirements as a result of the changes that are proposed.
Right. So with those, then that's how long in the next year is it to sort of plan what work needs to be done, and then how long on the ground?
Well, we're only proposing a year to get the work done. So they'd be doing some basic design and getting on with it. But the issue is we hit the winter season.
Right,
so you don't want to be doing surfacing work or resurfacing footpaths or pieces of road or that sort of thing in the winter. You fail.
Okay.
Great. Aaron.
Yeah, just with the list of projects, and a lot of them are safety or improvements. How come the Gardeners Road footpath didn't make it onto the list? And it's a board priority. It's a question on behalf of a community board member.
So going back to the original statement about acceleration was this is about projects that weren't on the long-term plan and bringing them into the program of work that council was delivering.
Right. So when the timing of this was,
This went to you. This went to your board, and there was opportunity to raise that at that time. It was on the long-term plan, though.
right, okay. It's just that there's things that are safety improvements and stuff that jump up the list and will get done, and we have kids in winter walking on the white line on a 60 km road. So
we've got. I think Yanni had another question, but can we
explain to the public?
Oh, sorry, Andre first, and then we'll, just because everyone's had a chance.
Thank you. I guess this is a question as a new member that's sort of getting my head around the context of CRAF funding. So as I understand, this originally went out for consultation in 2018, and the feedback was, fix the roads that needs fixing, which has since become, safety improvements, intersection improvements, and so on and so forth. And I'm just picking up on what you said a couple of minutes ago, and that was it had to be projects that weren't originally planned, which, am I right in understanding that would then be, if they weren't originally in the plan, it's because they are lower priority projects, and is the CRAF funding essentially then directing staff resources to lower priority projects?
Projects not needed for a wee while,
I don't think that's a yes/no answer. Maybe I can put a bit more on the context statement around why we were in the conversations we were having with Treasury, which may help your understanding.
Yeah, thank you.
So this was the 300 million post-election tie-up of earthquake issues in Christchurch. That we put forward an idea. We put forward to Treasury. We want to make a real difference in those communities that have been hard hit by the earthquakes and earthquake damage that we haven't been able to get in and do the little things for because we've got big demands on our budgets. So that was really the context around the conversation, and Treasury bought into that. Hence we came up with the accessibility, livability and safety sort of lens that we were putting across all of the work in the areas. What Treasury were really clear about is we're not paying for your BAU maintenance as part of this work, and we're not paying for the stuff that you're already committed to doing. So that's how they lensed it, if you like. The consultation with the community was really around we've got this draft, we've got this investment case that they've signed off on, and it had a big long list of way more than we could do. So where do we draw the line, and what's in and what's out? So that was the consultation with the community. And it was a bit more like a social pinpoint consultation, if you remember it. It was trying to gather lots of information.
So I'm just conscious of time and moving this. So it's a really useful question, I think, for everyone coming through to understand that. So can we just flick, David, I think Yanni might have an amendment he wants to put up. So can we get that onto the screen? Now, has that been through staff advice? So my initial read of that was, if it was to proceed, then obviously we'd need to have a discussion around what projects in the transport plan would need to be bumped out as we work through capital over the coming sort of weeks. That would be the only read I made of that amendment. Have you got anything you want to add before we take questions?
Well, given the program we've put up, we don't believe we can achieve it. From a staff perspective, given the consultation we've got to do, we don't believe June 24 is an achievable target.
Right, so I guess in terms of legally then, is it an amendment possible of being put? So Helen, is that something you can... I don't really want to get in the habit of ruling them out, but I just want to know whether it's practically possible to do.
Clarification?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I think it was referenced that these projects aren't in the annual plan. Can someone confirm that these projects are actually in the annual plan or not?
They are.
So these are annual plan projects.
Yeah, but they're not all in one. They're not all in one financial year. So what we're saying is, if you wanted to do it, you'd have to pull, unless I've got it wrong, pull forward budget, bring back budget from previous years, which we'd need to push out other transport projects.
No, because we've got significant budget on to deliver per the original timeframe.
Yeah. But
It's the deliverability.
Yeah. But we've still got stuff in outlying years which would need to be pulled forward. So is there anything you want to add, Lynette? And then I'd just be keen to get some. If it's technically possible, we'll just put it. I'm not. If
The other thing is, so the projects that were confirmed in the last year's draft annual plan was after the CRAF ones, which were already on the annual plan as well.
Sorry, what's the question?
So the bring forwards that have leapfrogged, like the Tikaha streets,
Yep.
they were approved afterwards in terms of the bring forward of the money.
So is that a question?
Well, at last year's annual plan, we brought forward projects to be delivered in a time frame, right? But that was after we'd already agreed to the CRAF.
Yeah, maybe I'm missing. I'm still not hearing a question though. What's the question?
So the CRAF projects were agreed before the Tikaha projects were agreed. They were already on the budget.
Yes, yes, they're already in the annual plan and the LTP.
And so was Takaha.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. Okay. Right. So what I'd quite like to do is. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to leave this one till after the break, because I think Helen and that just want a bit of time to make sure it is capable of being implemented, which is really good. So what we might do we need a? Well, I guess firstly, is there anyone that would second the amendment? You will second it, Phil? Yeah. Okay, so right, we'll leave it and come back to it after morning tea. Do we need to move anything for that, or can I just do that? Okay, great. Okay, thank you. We'll come back. Yep, thank you. We're not leaving though, so we can all stay. Let's move forward. Melody, I might hand over to you. There's just 12 and 13. Oh yeah, sorry. I should actually say, is there anything in the other capital program that you want to question?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's finish the rest.
Yeah, we did spend a lot of time talking about that. Right, Pauline and then Phil.
Thank you. Just on page 230, just the little bit about the Brighton Estuary Edge Erosion Management. Is that around the inside of the estuary there? Is that the inside edge? Yeah. Is that the inside edge of the estuary? Must be, mustn't it? The Estuary Edge Erosion Program. Is that the one that with the gabion baskets and things that we're doing?
It's big rocks. Looks good.
Red zone.
Has it started?
No, that's the spit as we know it. Okay,
Yes.
so that's the. Is that your question? Is that where it is? Yes, the New Brighton spit.
So they're planning to start that next month. It says to share site-specific designs and areas of significance. I'll just send a memo if you like, because
So that project is a very complex project.
Yeah.
The board have recently been updated on progress, which is a lot slower than we'd like, and it's mostly due to very difficult and complex consenting matters.
Right.
The design that was preferred, which came out of a series of public consultation and engagement sessions, as it sits, is very, very difficult to consent. And so the program's running a bit slower as a consequence to that. So it's still progressing, that project is progressing, but not as quickly as we had initially imagined.
And what's the value? What's the cost of it? Do you know offhand?
Well, it's still on budget, so I haven't got the number in my head, but it was around, there were two components to it. There's the flood protection, which is a bund inland a little bit, and there's the estuary edge erosion management. I think the combined cost of the whole project, not construction cost, was budgeted around 12 million, 10 to 12 million.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Pardon?
Is the roving maintenance crew paper coming to us before Christmas, please?
We will be doing a briefing for you, Mayor, next week on Thursday, Lynette and I, so we can take you through the progress we're making. Once we've got your feedback, we'll be able to then see where we're at.
Okay, because what I'm getting at is it's all very well saying we're going to go out and do footpath assessments and stuff like that. in my view, that's just wasting money. We should just, instead of spending money on assessing it, we should be spending money on doing the work. So that the sooner the roving footpath crew is up and running, we're walking down the footpaths one after another saying, right, we'll fix this and just go forward like an army going over the top.
Questions.
And that would be the question. I asked the question to start with.
Okay, Melanie?
Andrew's just walking out of the room. It was about the OARC and the ECAN consenting.
Is that something we can maybe take offline with him if he's not?
Well, it's probably the consenting team. That's the complication.
It's obviously in the report and it's in the paper, but it would be good.
I'm just saying if he's not here.
I know.
Can we... Yeah.
We'll just ask for a memo for the update on it.
We'll get something for you, or Leah will get something for you. Okay, any other questions? Yanni?
Just on page 222, just to be really clear about understanding that chart, the yellow is at the financial year's end is the amount that we're expecting to be underspent. Is that correct?
Yes, it hadn't made an improvement to the charts this month, which hopefully provides better clarity. So all you're seeing in these charts is the financial year provision. You're not seeing future years. You're only seeing FY23. Right. And the black line, the little black line, is the budget provision for this year. Yeah. So where there's a yellow, it means that at the current time the forecast is to underspend on that budget. And where the green line goes past the black line, it means you're going to have to fund it with a bring
so
back.
One's a carry forward and one's likely a bring back.
Yeah, so yellow's carry forward if the situation is held like that, and beyond the black line is a bring back to fund it. So the black line's the baseline for the budget in FY23.
So Gloucester Street, where we've gone from 9%, I think, last report, to 8% now of deliverability. At what point do we actually just consider that in terms of our financial challenge as being something that we would defer? And I guess I'm just concerned that this is really good. It would be good to have, we've got the CRAF, I think there's some CRAF safety improvements in one of them, but actually it would be good to have the those 5 areas actually reported so we could see the spend. So for example, if you take Gloucester Street, you can see really clearly that we're only going to do 8% of that budget, which despite going through a draft annual plan and, requests to defer that and push it out were ruled out of order. Actually, the reality is hitting home now that we're not going to be able to deliver it. So
I think you've probably asked a heap of questions and made a point.
Well, yeah.
No, we got them. So Leah's going to add something first, and then if there is anything you feel like you have to add, Leah, do, but don't feel like you have to.
Well, can I just ask how do we remediate?
Yanni, stop. You've asked 3 questions and made like 5 points. I just want Leah to say something first.
So as you're all aware that, we're carrying on with the annual plan. We've got public briefings starting next week as well. As part of this, we'll be working through what is part of the substitution in regards to the capital. All of those questions are valid, Yanni, and can be discussed as part of the annual plan briefing, noting that they will be in public on the 6th. The first meeting in public is on the 6th. So you do have an opportunity to do that as part of the annual plan.
So we can request.
Would we not be better today to signal, like where we're getting the information that these projects aren't going to be delivered, which is pretty obvious from Gloucester Street? Why would we not make a call today on that if we wanted things to be delivered that are also on budget?
I wouldn't want to do. I mean, I share a lot of your sentiment. I wouldn't want to do that today because I think we need to take a holistic view of the capital program.
Correct.
And that's the whole point of working through an annual plan. So we're going to be very public next week about it. If there's work that is requested to be done, at that point it can be done.
Right. So how does staff determine which ones that are not currently meeting delivery timeframes get extra resources to get delivered in the timeframes?
So again, we're going to go through next Tuesday an opportunity to talk through a lot of that stuff. There's a list being compiled at the moment. Lynn and her team are working on your request from last week around this. So I would really like to get to next Tuesday if we can and focus more holistically on the capital program.
Sorry, this is just a question for the capital performance report. Like when we get told that we're not meeting targets, what's the process? I'm just trying to understand what the process is to meet those targets or like. So we've maybe am I living on a different universe? We've talked about issues with deliverability for ages. What they're saying is, and Dawn said it time and time again, we have limited capacity with staffing. Our contractors are exactly the same.
So in terms of the work that's already committed, that is being delivered. When it's not, that is literally what we discuss at a capital program in terms of the annual plan. So I'm not sure. I just don't want to go around in circles again and again when we're having an annual plan program next week to discuss this. So I think we'll conclude that there. Are there any other questions? No. Okay. So we're going to park this report now. We're going to get some legal advice over the break, and what we're going to do now, Melanie is going to come and take the chair for a couple of items. Oh, sorry, Mel. Andrew? Do you want to answer? Could you just come up really quickly? And Melanie, do you want to ask your question, and then we'll do the switch?
I was just wondering about the consenting for the stormwater and the OARC and how that's going, and
Sure.
Are there any possible timeframes and or anything?
Helen's more the expert on consenting, but I presume people might have read the article in the paper this morning. Essentially, there's a stalemate. It's very difficult to get consenting, but it does impact Helen's program more than, if you like, the parks and recreational side of things. But essentially, probably what you read is dead right. Delivery of the whole of the OARC program relies on moving quite a lot of dirt, and we can't do that at the moment. It's about as simple as that. We can push on with the City to Sea pathway. We can push on with the Bexley wetland because we're not moving a lot of material. We can push on with some of the other modifications around landings and so forth, but the minute water comes into the question, it's technically, at the moment, you can consider it non-consentable.
So from one of the reports, I think it was this one, that the capital delivery is keeping up with what it's expected to be for this year. It read, I thought I saw, but this is actually going to hold up capital delivery, isn't it? For the
Not on the programs of work that we're driving at the moment. It is impacting some that Helen may want to comment on.
I'm just wondering, Melanie, given the issues you've raised, I wonder if it's worth Dawn. Do you want to potentially raise it with ECAN?
Yes, I'm happy to do that, Chair. I'll pick it up with
And
the
then
Chief
can you keep
Executive
Melanie or the wider council in the
All
loop
of
on
us.
that?
Yeah. If you let
Is
me
it okay?
take it offline, and I'll speak with the CE.
Yeah. No. Good call. Okay. And Phil's got the last question for this session, which he's told me is very, very short.
Andrew, is this problem with consenting costing us money at Waitaki Basin because we're having to hold up the contractor, and are we paying for the hold up because of ECAN's procrastination?
It's one for Helen, really. It's one of her team's projects.
Yeah, could we add that to the discussion that the chief executives are going to have?
Okay, that's fine.
Great. So we're going to leave this paper until after the break, and then so Melanie's going to come up now. So I think the format after, though, depending on how the next two papers go, we'll break for morning tea. When we come back, I'd quite like to carry on with the just sort out the amendment that Yanni's raised, just get that done and dusted, and then move through to Addington Brook.
When do you want us to come back?
Well, we're not finished yet. We've got civic building and a couple of others, and then 15 minutes after that. So.
Hot chocolate. Okay, that's drunk.
Right, so it's item. Okay.
For Linda, because I think we had 3 people on this, didn't we? Wasn't Phil? So he needs to be in this resolution as well?
No, so we're proposing that 2 temporary appointments are made because that's what's required under the Constitution for CBL. So rather than get in front of the contestable process that will be done,
right.
We're just looking to
2's enough. That's fine.
2's enough. Yeah.
Because they automatically effectively resigned today after the next paper, as at the AGM, because the AGM we're going to put in next. Yeah.
Any other questions? Tyler.
Just a quick one. I'm wondering if we could, I'm asking you, Leah, to define the term temporary when appointing the boys?
Yeah, so no, good question, Tyler. So where we're at is, as you're aware, with the on the 14th of December, there'll be a paper that comes in to the council in regards to the appointments policy. And under that current policy that we have is around the contestable process and the process that needs to happen. Once that 14th of December's paper has come and a decision has been made about what that is, then a panel will be put in place and expressions of interest for all the CCOs, so venues, CNZ, CCHL, and civic building, because they are companies in the CCO. Once that has happened, the panel will be put together for actually those expressions of interest from the councillors will actually be requested before Christmas. We believe that can be done before Christmas. And then we will work to looking at getting interviews done late January after recess in time for first board meetings to have them appointment, because it has to come, the original, when the process are done, it comes back to council to approve the appointments. But we're working on a time frame of actually having those appointments on all those boards for councillor directors by the February board meetings. So that's when so we're saying that's the plan. So by February that all of the appointments will be in place.
So it's less than 3 months.
Correct. And you know, so there's some of those things but it's more so today was about civic, because the AGM, they have to automatically resign, we would be in breach, which is why we did some of the decisions around CCHL. We put some temporary appointments in place, and CNZ, all the other boards can operate because they have their quorums right until that point.
Yeah, I'm just I've got PTSD from intangibles from other committees, so I was going to ask if we could add a timeline to that, maybe February 15th, either prior or on the date. But I feel comfortable actually.
It depends on what we do on December.
Yeah, 14. I mean, the papers will be coming in December, so it will depend on that.
Yep.
I mean, I'm comfortable to say that we should have them all appointed by the end of February.
Sure, that's cool.
Yep. Nothing like putting myself on deadlines.
It's already been moved. So we've got a mover of Tim and a seconder of Phil. Did you have a question? No. All right, no, we've got that. Yanni?
Question on the civic building. I know there's been a lot of work going on in relation to that. Do we have a time frame for when any sort of decisions will be?
It's not relevant to this paper, really, Yanni.
No.
Well, I was just wondering if it would be before or after the permanent directors are appointed.
I don't know the answer. It's not.
Is it in relation to the appointment of the directors, or is it something else? So what was the question?
Is there any major decisions that are going to be made between now and when we appoint the permanent directors?
No, because there's no board meeting.
Right, cool, thanks.
Right, I'll move. We've moved and seconded, so all those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Abstentions carried. Okay. And then number 13, the AGMs by written resolution. Mover Phil and seconder Pauline. Have we got any questions for Leah? No, all those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Abstentions carried. Awesome.
Well done.
That was good. I'm efficient.
So when are we coming back? 10 past, apparently. Is that okay? Thank you.
Get going, please. We just need Yanni. Okay, so they're just working on some new wording. Effectively, the way Yanni had put it. Oh no, sorry, we're not at that one yet.
Shall we get Helen to explain it?
Yeah. I just want to say the ones roll out first.
Yeah, who did that? Okay.
Yanni's coming.
Helen, are you okay to explain?
Okay, so Yanni is coming.
We've just passed your amendment failed.
We've sped up Gloucester Street. Okay. All right. So before we, so we've had as you do, the team have had a look at it over the break. Helen, do you want to just update us on where things are at after talking with Yanni?
Thank you, Chair. The amendment as proposed did create a number of issues from a decision-making perspective under the Local Government Act in terms of the impact on other decisions yet to be made, contingent decisions, and other processes, and the deliverability angle, which Lynette Ellis had already informed the committee prior to the break in terms of actually what could be achieved by June 2024. So as a result of that, it would have been my advice to rule out of order the amendment as currently drafted. However, through discussions, hopefully what is coming up on the screen is an alternative which is capable of being debated.
So can everyone see that up there? And Yanni and Phil, yeah, Phil's happy with it. Yanni, you're happy with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing is to signal to staff that we see the CRAF as a high priority. And yeah, obviously we've got the draft annual plan stuff happening next week. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, so what I'm kind of what would be useful, David, how do you want to do this? Do you want to
mover and seconder of the substantive?
Okay, so I'm happy to move the substantive. James is happy to second it.
Did we want to just incorporate it, or?
Well, I'm comfortable to incorporate it. And yeah.
Pauline's got a question.
Oh, Pauline's got a question. Yep.
Thank you, Leah. The request that staff acknowledges this priority through the rephrasing process. Does that mean, is that instructing us to rephrase it, or could we put the word in through the potential rephasing?
Yeah, so we've already got a mover and seconder for that.
Well, I mean, I need to know which way to vote on it, because if this is telling us that we're going to rephase to prioritise that, I wouldn't support it.
Well, I think that's what it's saying.
Right, so that's what it is saying.
Yeah, it's saying staff acknowledge it's a priority through the rephrasing process. So I think the sentiment that Yanni picked up was we need to be speeding it up, and they'll look at that as they work on the draft capital program to bring back to us.
Tim, to rephase it. Okay.
Cool. Sarah and then Tim.
Thanks. Probably a question for staff on it. When it comes to transport, the transport program and prioritisation, my understanding is that we look at it from a city perspective and we prioritise things that are in poor condition, of high use, more important to the network and things higher than other projects, and that these craft projects hadn't reached a priority to be part of the 10-year program originally, but now they are in, and they have potentially already pushed back other projects when it comes to deliverability. Is that right?
Transport program, as all of our work programs are prioritised with a number of factors. Transport in particular bases around condition, and I will put more of this up for you on our briefing that's coming up on Friday. There are a number of factors. Condition is one of them. The use of the street and the requirements of the street are another one. The craft projects are in our program, and we are moving forward with them. I wouldn't actually, I couldn't sit here today and say they have or haven't pushed other things out.
Yeah.
It is, we have juggled the workload across a range of works. This is Treasury and Council and staff have worked together to understand how we can make these areas a little bit better and a little bit more livable for the people that are part of these communities.
Yeah.
Okay, Tim?
Thank you. The key issue is the ability, the capacity to fulfil everything that's required. So rephasing, so requests the staff acknowledge this priority through the rephasing process of annual plans. So that's a polite way of saying that some of the other things have to get pushed out of the way to let these happen. That's a polite way of putting it, really, isn't it?
Or the other way to look at it is that staff will acknowledge that if you say this is a high priority to our communities, then we will acknowledge that and what we're trying to juggle, and we'll have that conversation with you through the annual plan process.
Cool. Any other questions on Aaron and then Yanni?
Just the ongoing use of the term craft. Can we at least drop the A word?
Aaron, I'm not worried about that today. Yeah, no.
Well,
Yanni?
I'll get you a dictionary for Christmas, then.
Just wanted to check, do we have any written agreements with Treasury or with government about delivering to certain timeframes on this? And also just wanted to know if there's a sort of communications plan, because Lynette put up the slide.
No, stop.
No,
Yanni,
finish?
Yanni, I'm chairing it, stop. We've gone round in circles on this. We've landed on a point where we're putting something to the council which literally instructs them to do what you've asked. So I think we've been through the craft funding, or certainly in my time here, numerous times with the appropriate timelines. We have a whole communications department that will communicate. I do not want to go round and round again. So no more questions. We're going to put the do you want it incorporated, or do you want to put it separately as an amendment? Okay, so we're going to vote. What I'd like to do, see that we've got 3 and 4.
Can I just get an answer to the question around central government?
Yanni, I've shut it down. Stop. We've given you at least an hour of questioning this morning on your own, and we have had staff work over the break to get to an outcome that suits you. We are not going to do this for the whole term, so you will stop. Right. So 3 and 4. So maybe we just put, because everyone agrees it's a high priority, we'll just put, maybe we put 4 as a separate one, and we include 1, 2 and 3 in the substantive. So, oh sorry, there's no 2 now. So we'll go,
so 1 and
we'll just get
2.
David to update it. Yeah.
Doesn't it become 2?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll debate the amendment first. Okay, so we'll debate the amendment first. So does anyone wish to debate the amendment? Pauline and Yanni. So Pauline.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I understand the intention of this, and I think the member does feel frustrated with the length of time, but it's actually not that long. It's not that long till a lot of these are completed. They are in process now, and the construction time sits within that time frame as well. So I'm quite happy with Lynette's answers to the questions that she gave, and I think that the resolution leaves us exposed to just guessing what might be rephased. I don't think we need this resolution. I think we're perfectly capable of dealing with this through the annual plan without a resolution. So I'm not going to support it today, and I fully respect Lynette and her team in delivering these things along with our BAU program in a timely way and under the challenging circumstances that we're in. And I think it's meddling in operations and management for us to be trying to push this through when we've been told that it's sitting where it should be. So I'm not supporting this today, and I know that we can have an opportunity through the annual plan if we wish to rephase anything. Thank you.
Yanni?
Yeah, I wish to speak in support of this. In fact, to quote a councillor who said at the time that the investment case was done, this investment will alleviate incredible amounts of stress that people are feeling when their local roads and footpaths are in such poor condition. This work has identified the areas that will give the greatest benefit to the community wellbeing and accelerate our regeneration. And that was from Councillor Pauline Cotter from the Christchurch City Council. We have had the CRAF projects on our budget. We have had this investment case signed off by government, and we have been doing work on it, but it has been far too slow, in my view, for something that was supposed to be accelerated and make a difference in our local communities. Some of the projects here are about safety. The Linwood Ave slip lane, for example, in my area, is a school that's been rebuilt and has got a huge safety problem with Linwood Ave. It just seems like we need to get on and get it done. Likewise, to wait 2 years after the new opening of the new Linwood College, Te Aratai, is just, to me, makes no sense at all. The students are going to that college already, and we have projects to try and make it a safer place for those students, and I think we just need to prioritise it. So there should be no surprise to anyone that these projects were supposed to be accelerated. They were given special funding from central government to deliver, and they actually need to be done as soon as possible. They're overdue, and I don't think having them delayed any further is acceptable to either the council or the local community. The reality for us as councillors is we need to prioritise what we do when we're constrained. This is not a new request. This has been repeated requests for information around how we can achieve this. It's been going back at least a year around the CRAF projects. So I support recognising this as a high priority, and I support us considering what resources are required to get it delivered in the time frame that we've set with our communities.
Thank you, Chair. While I completely support number 3 and acknowledging that the CRAF projects are a high priority, as we noticed that most of, or actually a lot of those projects were in the Riccarton ward, and there is no argument that those streets really need something done to them. But what I cannot do within any part of me is support number 4 on the basis of chopping and changing to prioritise someone's ward over another. And that is something that I'm not in support of. And we know, and staff know, as they are the professionals, they are the experts on what needs to be prioritised because they're out there quite a lot. And as do we, we're all a part of the community. I completely support number 3, but cannot support number 4.
Thank you. I totally concur with Councillor Harrison-Hunt. The word rephasing is really concerning. We've gone through a process. We've been consulted at our community board level, and suddenly we come here and some of it changes or wants to change. It's really clear the timing on this, and yes, it's taken a long time to get here, but staff haven't been sitting on their butts. They've been working really hard with a number of other things. We've got a whole lot of safety concerns in all of our wards, and they are being dealt with. There are a lot of work going on. No one mentions about the staff working and what they've done and achieved so far. There is absolutely no way I will be supporting number 4 because I don't know whose ward will be rephased. Yeah, cut, literally. It's a nice way of saying cut. So it would be so wrong of me to put my ward in front of others, and it's just unacceptable. So I will be supporting 1 and 3, although I'm fully aware that the staff are aware of the situation, but there's no way I will be supporting number 4. Thank you.
I don't support number 2, which obviously has been superseded by number 4. I actually am fine with the wording of it, so I will actually support it, although I think that as councillors we know that we should be prioritising this, as Councillor Johansson said, through the annual plan process, and that is what we'll do. And just remember that prioritising means dealing with things according to their relative importance, so we can't just look at one thing and then forget everything else. So we just need to look at it as a whole, and I think that is what 4 is actually saying, so I'm actually happy with that.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm going to support this. I guess, we were part of the issue out in the east was that our new board, when all this information came to us, thought that we could have a lot more influence than we were actually able to in the end, I guess that slowed the process down. There were lots of back and forths in terms of questions about what we could prioritise and how we would prioritise it. So I just felt that it could have been done an awful lot quicker if we'd have had better advice right from the start. So it did kind of drag things out. So I think the learning is that the communication needs to be better early on in this type of situation. I would like to see some of the projects in the east prioritised because I feel that we had quite an impact over there in terms of roading. But I am going to support 3 now, I do believe. Yeah.
The main thing I want to do here is we have been given, thank you very much, $40 million from the government. We seem to be just putting that to one side and not spending it. It's free money. Our ratepayers haven't had to pay for it. And I'd like to see CRAF instead of BAU. And that's why number 4, I think, is going a little way towards that. So we've got ratepayers' money that has been spent on BAU, and we've got this $40 million that I do recall about 2 years ago, the previous mayor was mentioning about the third word being accelerated to their previous head of transport, saying, and gave them a wee bit of a carry up. So I'm just saying that that's the only reason I really want to get that in there, to get some movement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I concur with Mayor Major's comment there that this $40 million is not impacting on the ratepayers anything other than the sequencing of the works, as opposed to the other works which does have the impact on rates. So I will be supporting that clause 3 there, simply on the fact that we need to get this accelerated and happening as soon as we can to help try and spend that money that the government has kindly given us to get these projects done for the good of our communities.
Thank you. I'd like to concur with the sentiments expressed by Councillor Harrison-Hunt and Councillor Scandrett, and I do acknowledge that these are a priority as recognised there in number 2, but I wish to recognise and reinforce that so much of our work is also a priority, and I'm satisfied that the prioritisation discussions are going to form part of our annual plan discussions, but I am also very mindful of the fact that deliverability is a big issue for us. So I won't be supporting number 3, but I will be supporting number 2.
Kia ora. I won't be supporting this, and I just reiterate the comments of Councillor Henstock, who summed it up perfectly. Councillor Scandrett, Councillor Harrison-Hunt, I absolutely concur with their comments, and I can't add anything to it. So thanks, Victoria. That really summed it up perfectly for me.
Okay, just really briefly, I will support Yanni's amendment because I think it's actually the very beginning of an annual plan process. So I think the point of these meetings are literally to identify issues, and if someone does say, actually, we want to make this a priority, like we're all acknowledging, then actually it is our ability to do that. So I think we've got to a better position than putting a hard and fast deadline onto Lynette and the team. I think this will still be a really challenging issue for them to deliver, but I can't see any harm in prioritising that today. This may be a priority over the coming days as we work through the capital plan as we do next year. It may get bumped out again as we make the choices, but I think for the purpose of what we're doing today, I'm more than happy to support it. So I'm happy to put that to a vote, and we'll just see if it's close or not. So all in favour say aye.
Which one?
Oh, sorry, 3. Yeah. Just Yanni's amendment. Request staff acknowledge this priority through the... Yes, yeah, it's just been tidied up. So we'll put 3 to the vote. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against? No. We'll have a division on that.
Okay. The Mayor. Councillor or Deputy Mayor Cotter.
No.
Councillor Peters.
Yes.
Councillor Harrison-Hunt.
No.
Councillor Coker.
Yes.
Councillor Field.
No.
Councillor Donaldson. Oh, she is on Zoom.
Celeste, you even just raise your thumb if you want, or down.
Sorry, is this 2 or 3?
This is 3. The amendment.
Yeah, amendment.
No.
That's a no.
No.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Henstock. No. Councillor Moore.
No.
Councillor Goff.
Yes.
Councillor Johansson. Yes. Councillor Kean.
Yes.
Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
Councillor Barber.
Yes.
Councillor McClellan.
No.
Councillor Scandrett.
No.
Councillor Templeton. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 against.
Do you want to just double check that?
So we had the mayor was a yes. The other yeses we had Councillor Peters, Councillor Coker, Councillor Goff, Councillor Johansson, Councillor Kean, Councillor McDonald, Councillor Barber, Councillor Scandrett.
No, Tim was against.
No.
The no.
Nearly, Yanni. Yeah. So that motion is lost.
It's lost. Sorry.
Yeah. No problem. Good to. But I'll bear that in mind next time, David, when I need something. Okay. So that motion is lost. Can we put the substantive now? All in favour, say aye. Against. It's carried. Great. Thank you very much, and thank you, Lynette and Helen, for working out a way forward there. Okay. Can we move to item 6? So we'll, you may recall this is referred from the last council meeting.
Yes,
Yeah, we did. Yep. And that passed. So do you want to come forward? And now, everyone may recall the it being deferred here because there was a wee bit of more information that was needed. I just wondered if you could update that, and I think it's Andrew. Yeah. Great. So do you want to just update us on sort of the missing gaps, so to speak, from last week? We don't need to go through the whole presentation, but if we could just fill in those gaps, and then and it just should be acknowledged we actually have a motion on the table which Phil had moved and I'd seconded last week as a start. So.
Yep. Okay, so I submitted some further information which came through this morning, I believe. The questions that I was kind of looking at was the financial forecast and what we're looking to do to try and rephase the budgets for the works that were planned. The work phasing themselves, as well as provide some information on the Edington Brook and Riccarton Drain filtration devices.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions? It's already been moved, and so that's already been moved and seconded, but adding in the point that agreed the timing, sort of like the last one. Okay, Sarah and then Yanni.
Can I just clarify that the additional resolution that was put in number 5, to do that one, it means deferring the project until after a decision's been made on the annual plan instead of getting on with it straight away. Is that right? I think that's what we discussed last time. Just want to clarify.
Yep. Just Helen will be able to.
Yes, I think we need to, if council has a mind to go ahead with the staged project, then we need to amend number 5 to say that phase 1 will go ahead this year, and then the staging of the next part of that project can be subject to the annual plan.
Are you better with that?
Yeah,
Because I
Phil, are
don't
you happy
want
with
to
that?
defer current work.
If that's got more consensus, I'm comfortable to just change that if everyone's in general sort of agreement. Yeah. Okay. Can we just, Helen, do you want to come around and work with David just on that wording, please? Great, thank you. Okay, Yanni.
Is this taking priority over other projects?
Right. So.
Is it? Okay.
So. Is your question to me, or
is this taking priority over other projects that is currently on budget?
So this is deja vu. As we talked about last week.
So it is it?
Well, you can either ask the question and answer it, or let me answer it. So you choose. What do you want?
No, sorry, Councillor Templeton was interrupting.
Right. Okay. So as we explained last week, the ELT have a delegation to bring back or bring forward funding. If that works. What we're agreeing to is the master plan here, and the majority will of council was to get on and do some of it, not necessarily all of it now. So we would be bringing forward, because we've got a massive underspend this year, a portion of that to get on and do the work, and at the same time we will have a discussion in the annual plan about the rephasing of the additional phases. So I think that's relatively clear, isn't it, from Yeah.
Except the.
At the previous meeting, we were advised that the project total is over 5 million and will be a decision of council. So I just wanted to check on that. Was it a year?
So the again, unless I've got it wrong, the delegation is for ELT to bring back budget under $5 million, isn't it? Yeah. So it's not bringing forward the whole project. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
The other question I had was in regards to in the memo. Sorry, I was just trying to pull it up, but there's talk about the Port Hill sedimentation project being swapped out. So obviously that taking longer. So I don't know if anyone can speak to why that would be the case. It's just been a priority that I know we've raised.
So what we were asked to do was clarify where within the program projects had been delayed and where the funding could be swapped out, if you like. So we're not deliberately deferring or delaying anything to bring this forward. Some projects have already been deferred or delayed for other reasons. Therefore, we're bringing this one up to fill that gap in the program. So this is not delivering this project this year is not stopping anything else going ahead.
Right, so there's no impact on the sedimentation work.
That's correct.
Yeah, great. And then the other question that I just put in was, given that option 2, I think, sorry, not option 2, stage 2, my understanding from the previous discussion was that the majority of the tree removals are in that second stage. And given that we're discussing it through the draft annual plan, I was just keen to know if we could have some public consultation on stage 2, given that's the one that's likely to be more contentious.
We can certainly notify the public, as I said at the previous meeting, that this has been a long-standing project agreed to in the master plan for Hagley Park. And so sort of that wide consultations, I believe, is not necessary. But what we will be doing is notifying people of the work that we're doing and that's upcoming, and for them to make contact with us if they have any questions. And we can certainly include the master plan once it's approved so that people can see it and understand it. So it'll be more about an ongoing conversation with people rather than tell us what you think about this. They've already told us what they think. They want to see the brook ultimately upgraded.
So can I just be clear? Like, the master plan didn't specifically have this level of detail on it. This was just
so Yanni, stop. I don't want to spend the whole term saying Yanni, stop. But if we could literally, your question has been asked and answered. They have said they can look at public notification for phase 2 if we decide to do it in the next annual plan. So when that's it, we're done there. Have you got anything that isn't relevant to what you were just asking?
Well, I wanted to understand, it's just in terms of consultation requirements.
It has been asked and answered, so you can stop. Okay. Right, is there any other question, Victoria?
Not sure if this is an appropriate question for here, but just to help me understand the funding aspects of it, can you confirm, is this a capital project that's to be funded by borrowing?
Yes.
Can someone answer?
Yes.
Yeah. And is the cost of that borrowing included in the figures that we've seen in this memo? Helen?
That's a good lead question.
So this is all being done within the approved annual plan budget for this year. So there's no additional cost, and given the consenting delays we've had on other stormwater projects, the stormwater program, capital program, is actually at risk of delivery. So we're at risk of under-delivery rather than over-delivery against the budget within the annual plan.
Yeah, I understand.
Additional cost.
Yeah, I understand it's provided for in the budget, but sometimes we don't borrow all the money that we say that we're going to borrow. So do we have to borrow for this project? And is the cost of borrowing included in that sum? Yeah, because if it's in the budget, it's already
the
cost of borrowing.
Yeah. Okay, right. So Aaron.
Well, just to clarify on that, if someone was listening in that doesn't sit in on council finance meetings for years on end, if the interest rate changes, the project cost has changed because money's no longer cheap. So you're going to renovate your garden, and your $10,000 loan's now going to cost you twice as much each week.
So I think that they're probably good questions, and like you said at the beginning, potentially not the right place. But I wonder whether we park that for the annual plan next week, because it would be good to just help people understand that a bit more. So
Is that one of the in-public conversations or non-public ones? Sue?
Happy to have that conversation in public.
Yeah, I think
Everything's
that's an
in public.
important one. So then when people come and asking for things like they do each annual plan, we don't hear from all the ones that whinge all year about what we shouldn't spend money on. They don't come in.
Yeah.
But the ones that keep asking, it's handy to know that.
great, okay. And we've got Melanie and then Sarah.
I just wanted to ask if 5 can be put separately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. Yep. Sarah.
Yeah, and I wanted to clarify a bit further on number 5 as well. So, if we just got on with the whole project now, rather than phasing it in 2 stages, would it be cheaper for us to do it that way? But also, if we did stage 1 now and in the annual plan decided to do stage 2 later, what works wouldn't be done, and what are the implications of that?
So we would prefer to do a staged approach. So we'd prefer to do stage 1 now and then go straight into stage 2. So the staged approach doesn't slow us down in that sense, and we think that would be better in terms of the development of the project and the development of the design and the understanding of the general public as well.
Okay.
But if we delayed stage 2, yes, there would be additional costs.
Okay. And what work wouldn't be done if we decided to not do stage 2 yet? Well, which bit is stage 2? Is it the trees or?
Yes. So it's the area through the more woodland type area.
Yeah. But all of the actual stormwater and brook work would be done in.
No.
No.
No, it's just one section of the brook, and it's the more open section of the brook that's in stage 1.
Okay. Thanks.
So if number 5 was to lose, you could get on and progress 2 straight after stage 1? Unless something wacky happened in the annual plan.
That's true.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you can always revisit it in the annual plan anyway.
Okay, so I think we're there. We're going to put 5 separately. It sounds like a few people want to, which is fine. So,
and you also put 4 separately.
Yep, we can do that. So can we just? Yeah, okay. So you got. Do you want to just bring 4 down as well, David? If it's probably a bit easier.
Tyler.
Oh, sorry, Tyler. Yeah.
Apologies, I sort of don't understand at the moment in regards to number 5. So what are the implications if we say no to number 5? I didn't quite.
Yeah, so it'll effectively bring forward all the money and do the whole project, whereas the proposal was and I thought everyone was keen, was to stage it and then have a discussion at the annual plan around that second part. Yeah. 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 Oh, Jake, I was going to say, Jake, you would have sorted that on a Monday, wouldn't you? Okay, so right. So if we put 5, so let's put the 2 contentious ones first. So can we just put 5 first? Have you got something else? Oh, yeah, good point. Oh, we do have to debate, don't we? Okay, would anyone like to debate? We'll just debate. I just want one debate. I don't want the whole thing. So, Sarah, if you want to start.
Kia ora. Hagley Park is a really the most highly valued park in the city. And it also has these amazing brooks and streams and things through it, many of which were undergrounded for a while and then are through, that kind of thing. This report and the project has been to Mana Whenua, it's been to the Water Zone Committee, it's been to the Hagley Park Reference Group. All are really highly in favour of doing all of the work. We need to increase the tree canopy, we need to do the stormwater work. And let's remember that this is a really poor quality stormwater facility in need of renewal to a 21st century state. And while there's been some focus on the other treatment plant from the light industrial area, we need to remember that one of the biggest pollutants into our rivers is sedimentation. And the poor condition of the current Addington Brook clearly exacerbates this. Let us show central government that we can be trusted to look after our Three Waters infrastructure assets, and let's not defer or delay or downgrade any of this essential work at a time where Three Waters is a high priority, highly visible issue for the city and for the country. We need to get on with this piece of work. We don't want to risk delaying it, deferring it, and increasing costs. Thanks.
number 5, we should be looking at saving money any way we can at the moment. I'm more than happy with the bit from, correct me if I'm wrong, Helen, it's roughly the bit, I can't ask a question, it's the bit from the netball courts towards the hospital. That's the bit that's going to be done in stage 1. And I've looked at the value of what that's going to be. I think that if we've got the opportunity to maybe look at the annual plan and putting stage 2 out a little bit more, looking at the whole that we're going to look at next year, I think we should take this opportunity to maybe just put that on the back burner and do the main part of it. None of what we're going to do here, apart from a little bit of silt, which is not a lot, from the sides of the bank, none of it is fixing the contamination which is coming from upstream, because there's going to be a filter system put in by a later project, which is great. But this is just tidying up, especially around the cricket oval bit where there's a lot of people at certain times of the year. So I would I will support the number 5.
I'll probably repeat a bit of Sarah's, but this project will fulfil council's desire to plant more trees to increase our city's tree canopy. There's an increase, obviously, in safety with the naturalisation of the brook and formation of the clear pathway that people can use as well, people like Tim with his dog, and who have self-sustaining plant cover, and which will decrease maintenance, decrease grass cover, and reduce our carbon footprint. And we've also already been informed by staff at the last meeting we had this at that they thought it was best to deal with the brook first and then to do the treatment stage second. So I think this is really great. It's already on budget, and I'm sure we can, the Parks Unit will take on board our desire to do it for a lower cost if possible. So this is a really awesome project. Let's get stuff done.
Am I allowed to respond to that?
Yeah, I just remember during the election cycle, I don't remember hearing a election catchphrase was "Let's get stuff done at any cost."
Look, I think we've treated this essentially as a drain for the last 150 years, and this is our opportunity to renaturalise it and actually enable better public access to this historic stream as well. And of course, it helps with the river quality into the Avon o Takaro. We've heard from Mana Whenua, we've heard from the Hagley Park Reference Group. They're supportive. This is, as others have said, already planned, already budgeted for. I don't think we should be putting up any impediments. Everyone's really keen to look at rates and save where we can, but the best place to do that is as part of the annual plan. I don't think we should interfere with a project that's in flight at the moment.
Yanni.
So I hope councillors have read the memo that we are actually changing our budget by over $5 million. So it's 4.4 in FY25 going and 1.1 million in 26 going into 23 and 24. I know the council's released the high-level figures of the budget challenges that we face without the specific projects, but it is kind of ironic that some councillors are supporting this going ahead of other projects when they just, in the previous resolutions, on the previous report, or the previous discussion on the craft, they didn't want to take away from other areas in terms of prioritising something to get done. That's exactly what this does if you agree to it today. There's only 2
Point of order. I'm
That's
sorry.
actually wrong, yeah.
It's actually factually incorrect as to what we have said. And so that's a point of order understanding orders. And yeah.
What's incorrect about it?
The fact that, yeah.
It's $5.5 million. Okay. Well, can I say there's $5.5 million if you don't vote for considering this through the annual plan, that will be brought back to do this work, and that hasn't been in the information we've got, hasn't been highlighted what projects in there will not be done or will be impacted, right? So I think that's
already told us.
So anyway, so but the other thing is the other thing is so I think it is important to get this work done, but the concern I have is that we haven't consulted on it. I think in terms of public consultation, this is a really significant project. It's a really good project. but I do believe that it's not right with our community to not have public consultation. To rely on something done in 2007 in 2022, I think is unacceptable, especially with our resident survey feedback from people not understanding how we're making decisions and all the negative satisfaction levels we've got around people thinking that they've got influence over what we do. I'm particularly concerned about the high number of tree removals and also the financial impact. So I'll abstain from 3 and also vote against the tree removals in the delegations.
Are we there? I think we're there. So look, only really briefly, I'll support number 5, obviously because it was in our recommendations, and I only do that because this isn't a deferral or this isn't knocking a project on the head. What it's saying, like we did with the last one, is that we still consider this a priority, but actually we're going through an annual plan process over the coming months. I don't think there's any shame in this council getting on and doing the work, like Melanie said, getting stuff done around that first part of it and having a discussion around part 2. I don't think there's any shame in that. So I'd hate for people to think that are watching online that somehow we're trying to stop a project altogether. This is being pragmatic in challenging times. And you all know, and the public will know really well next Tuesday, that we do need to make some choices. I think to make a decision like this today will signal very clearly to the public that we're not prepared to change our thinking. And they will know next week that that is unacceptable. So I would strongly encourage people to support number 5, to separate into 2, and then let's have a public discussion through the annual plan around that staging. It may very well be that we decide that it should be in that following year. There's no harm in that, but we need to go through a public process to do so. So I'd strongly encourage people to support 5, and let's put it to the vote. So let's go. Can we put the substantive? Do you want to put the amendments first here? So let's go. So we'll put 5 first. So all in favour of that say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Against?
No.
Maybe we just have a division just to...
You yell loud.
Okay, 4-5. The Mayor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Cotter.
No.
Councillor Peters.
Yes.
Councillor Harrison Hunt. Abstain. Councillor Coker.
No. I was going to say.
I thought we were getting...
Councillor Fields.
No.
Donovan. Celeste. Sorry.
Celeste, can you hear us? Or
Celeste, can you hear us?
okay.
Celeste, can you hear us?
She's saying she can't hear us.
Saying no.
Can you do a
Right,
thumb?
everyone, just stop. Let David carry on. We'll come back to Celeste.
Okay, Councillor Henstop.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Goff.
Yes.
Councillor Johansson.
Yes.
Councillor Keon. Yes. Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
Councillor Barber.
Yes.
Councillor McCallum.
No.
Councillor Scandrett.
No.
Councillor Templeton. Okay, so Celeste, can you hear us? She abstains, does she?
No.
Tyler abstains.
Celeste, can you hear us?
Sorry, I'm still
Are
waiting
you
for
able to hear us?
confirmation of what Celeste is.
Do you want to just text us here and say thumb up or down? Give her the choice though.
Just say, put your thumb
Well,
down.
I'd like to know which way she votes, please.
Well, if she can't vote, she can't vote.
Can't hear, she can't vote.
Yeah, if she can't hear, she can't vote. So
Celeste, can you hear? Not if you can hear us. No, she
no.
can't hear.
So she's actually not really
Okay.
participating. Okay, so she's just absent.
Okay, so yeses are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No's is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we have effectively 2
Oh, she's
abstains.
messaged me. Can't hear.
So that is
So
that is carried.
yes, it's carried.
Okay, that is carried. And then we'll put number 4. So around the trees. So all in favour of that, say aye. Aye. Against. Great. So can we just record that for Yanni? That is carried. And then can we just put this the balance of it? Oh no, Yanni, you want?
Sorry, just to be clear on number 3, just abstain.
You want to abstain?
And also just vote against 6.
Can you just, yeah, can you just note those
He
two for
doesn't
Yanni?
care about the environment.
Everyone else is relatively comfortable if we put it.
3 years abstained for Yanni and 6 was.
So he's
just
abstaining from
against
3
it.
and he's voting against
6.
6.
Yeah, just 2 1 as well.
You're voting against delegation to a staff. Okay. Let's put that. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against. That's carried, and noting Yanni's stuff as well. Okay, thank you very much for that. That's a good outcome. Okay, Christchurch NZ, I think, are outside.
No, Christchurch Holdings.
Oh, Christchurch Holdings, sorry.
Done NZ.
I must say you were running a lot better meeting than he was.
It was just pure luck, wasn't it? They could have gone to shit.
Well, it was Yanni out of the room.
You've made it hard for him both times. You're the one who's caused the problem both times.
Hey, I'm just focusing up to the fact that you can touch that and see it there.
Oh, God.
I didn't know that, and I was scrolling through.
Oh, God, no. I use it all the time.
That's why I've got to sit next to younger people.
Well, you could pretty much sit next to anyone except Pauline.
All right. Yeah. Pretty right. 14? 14.
But she's got experience.
It was actually her that was doing it.
Okay, let's keep moving, everybody. Welcome, CCHL. Do you want to run through you got a PowerPoint, haven't you?
Are we on now?
Yeah, great. Do you want to do that first, and we'll just move. If there's anything you want to add, do it then, and then we'll go to questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to just introduce? I don't know whether everyone's met Paul. It may be useful just to introduce yourself, Paul.
Yeah, kia ora, I'm Paul Silk, the new acting chief executive of CCHL. I've been in front of finance and performance in the past with different hats on, so pleased to be here in this particular role.
Great. And Tony, I don't know whether everyone's met you yet.
Yeah, I'm Tony Rowles, Chief Financial Officer of CCHL.
Great. And everyone knows Alex, so that's all good. Okay, crank into it.
Okay. We only had a few slides to go through. Thanks very much for those. We had quite a large number of councillors that come along to the AGM, which was just a couple of weeks ago. I just wanted to bring out a few highlights from the annual report. Revenue, $1 billion. It's been over $1 billion for 2 years in a row now. Profit, seeing 120 million, despite another challenging year. Profit has been driven by LPC with large container volumes going through it, increase in enabled connections. The airport, significant revaluation of land at the airport and a solid performance from Orion. Stable progress through the year, and I meant to say at the start, one of the themes of our AGM was stability and flexibility were the two themes that we shared. We shared a number of stories as to what's been going on within the subsidiaries, stories that people would have known about, but also some of the nice little nuggets of special things that your companies are up to. Dividends, we provided analysis of dividends during the year. I wasn't going to spend too much time on there other than to say at this stage the 23 dividends is still, I see Leah raises her head, is still to plan. We can't make commitments, but that's certainly our intention is to deliver that dividend.
That's not what we just heard.
Right. Yeah. And a reminder that there were significant dividends that were paid out as part of the capital repatriation. The highlights for me, just from a CCHL perspective, living wage, we announced at the AGM that all staff members in the whole group, other than one person, is on the living wage. We're working with a city care employee in Wellington, and we're working through a process to get them up as well. The Associate Director Programme finished, an 18-month programme finished during the financial year. We had five people involved there, and we've just appointed another 9 to do the programme going forward. So that is a programme where we are helping up-and-coming future directors to sit alongside boards within the group. Te Whariki, that's another highlight. That's going from strength to strength. The City Council staff are now on board. It's over 1,000 users. It's a platform where collaboration can occur between between the various entities, the projects. We've got a Maori Pathways project and a sustainability project, which are both actively managed and uses the skill sets across the group. We issued a sustainability bond, the second entity in New Zealand to do so, and we've got a sustainability financial framework, which was delivered during the financial year. Also, from a CCHL perspective, Spencer Henshaw was an acquisition, is the first acquisition where the parent company had been involved with for a long time. We helped finance and work through that with the team. And probably the last area of appreciation for me is how the team worked through quite a challenging situation over the last 5 months, and I will cover some of that in the PX session.
All right, from a management point of view, all the financial information you need is in the annual report, and Alex has covered off on the highlights in what was a mixed year. But the June 22 year was also the year that CCHL started the journey to an integrated reporting framework, and the point of an integrated reporting framework is to take what are commonly regarded as the 5 capitals, but in our instance we've broken it out into 6 capitals as key inputs that we are using as an organisation to deliver on the outcomes that we stipulate in and agree in our statement of intent, but also outcomes that are aligned with community outcomes as well. And the point of this exercise, which we took some risk in the annual report from a management point of view of laying out what we call our conceptual framework. So even though it's a busy picture, what this does is provide some visibility on how we are thinking about those individual capitals as input. So what does it mean for us in terms of what we are actually accessing as an input? What do we intend to do with those inputs right across our work program, both at a portfolio level and at a subsidiary level? And what do we think we will achieve in terms of the outcomes that we're after, and again, reinforcing that these are outcomes that we will agree with you as part of the SOI process. And this is a major part of our commitment to greater transparency and accountability. We have heard the message loud and clear that as our shareholder, you want enhanced engagement, you want better communication, and more transparency. And so this is the primary tool which we will use to deliver on that. This is, as I said, it's a conceptual framework. It's a work in progress. It's by no means perfect. We will continue to engage on it with our board and with you as a shareholder, but it does highlight our direction of travel. And the final point I'll make on this is that it also hopefully tells the story that CCHL is not static as an organisation. It's had a difficult year as an organisation, but is by no means static. And hopefully that theme will come through as we prepare for the LOE and SOI round in the next few months.
Happy to take questions.
Yeah, no, that's really useful. It's a good summary. Yeah. Has anyone got questions? We're noting we've got a PX item as well on this.
Sorry, I'll go back to the framework.
Do you want to go? Yep, Yanni?
Yeah, sorry. My computer's just frozen, so I can't refer to the actual page. But in your report, you do note around the senior executive remuneration restraint. I was wondering if you could just give us any more detail, because I note that you sort of look forward, but we don't really get a sense of what's happened over the course of the year around senior executive remuneration restraint. So I don't know if there's any trends or analysis that you could give about what's happened in that space.
I can happy to make some comments on that without giving you the actual detail in terms of quantums. There's clearly an expectation in both the statement of enduring expectations, the letter of expectations, that we seek to achieve an outcome where we're closing the gap on remuneration. That's very clear, and all of the subsidiaries initiated policies which sought to deliver that as part of the 22 financial year. Heading into 23 and 24, it's quite a different economic environment. There is a very tight labour market. There's a significant competition for talent out there. We will have an outcome where we will see wages rise across the group. That's clear in all the negotiations that our subsidiaries are engaging with. But by the same token, the people that are our executives are in demand as well. It's going to be more challenging to close the gap in the next 2 years. We may do so in percentage terms, so the percentage increases that employees and salaried staff get might go up to a greater percentage than management, but in absolute terms, that gap might actually widen. I'll just flag that as a risk right now.
I'm happy to move your report. Oh, do you have a question, Aaron? Sorry.
Yeah, it was just a brief one on the port company. With the post-COVID increase in shipping costs up around 400%, is any of that flowing through to ports? And if not, why? Or is it just all going to the shipping companies?
No, so the ports, LPC has had two things which have supported its financial performance in this year. So one is during lockdowns, Kiwis got good at consuming stuff, so there was more things going through the port, but the port has also restored some pricing power as a consequence of that. So that has been reflected in improved financial performance from the port, and they are strongly focused in continuing to improve.
Right.
And I think in the last 24 months, there's been a huge focus on renegotiating contracts as well to increase pricing.
But none of our subs are immune to cost pressures.
Yeah, but because I know like in the shipping game is not ships, unfortunately, but he said they get the monthly magazines and the companies are making just record profits month on month. The numbers are phenomenal, but I just wondered how much of that it's best time to negotiate.
Yeah. So would you expect the port to use its pricing power at a time like this? Yes, and it is.
So Tim's happy to second it. Any discussion? No. All I was going to say, I thought that was a really useful presentation and really clear for everybody. So the more of that, the better. It's fantastic because not only for us, but for people watching online. So I think the diagrams and everything are really useful. So thank you for that. So that's been moved and seconded. All in favour, say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you. Do you want to? Oh yeah. Do you want to jump into your Q1 report as well? Yep. And then
hand
we'll
over to Tony for this.
Great. So, for the Q1 performance against SOI targets for the dashboards, you'll see that the group has largely performed well in Q1, but also note that Orion's dashboard is for a half year, so 2 quarters, given their March balance date. For financial measures, Orion has indicated that there's some uncertainty around their full year profit forecast, and that's largely due to increased depreciation off the back of 120 million revaluation uplift at year end. It's a non-cash item and it's not expected to have any impact on Orion's full year dividend forecast. You'll see that the airport are currently ahead of all financial targets, and that is driven by their higher revenue off the back of better than expected passenger numbers, especially domestic passengers. Note that CityCare's financial targets do not include the impact of the Spencer Henshaw acquisition. So you'll see some fluctuation in tracking against targets, and that will flow throughout the whole year. Also on that is including the suspension of dividends to CCHL in favour of repaying debt. This is something that CCHL will manage and absorb the impact of during the year, and we expect no impact on CCHL's full year target dividend council.
Minuted. We're just minuting that one.
Great. For non-financial measures, just a note about carbon emissions. The group's seen an increase in those since air travel has resumed. However, subsidiaries are continuing to reduce emissions where possible, such as Orion planting Indigenous forests to offset emissions. But also note that some of those initiatives can be difficult to deliver. For example, LPC is trialling biodiesel as an alternative fuel source, but it's facing supply issues along with difficulties transitioning equipment from mineral diesel to biodiesel. So they're really the key points that I wanted to talk about today, and happy to take any questions on the dashboards.
Thank you. That's very useful. We'll start with Aaron.
Yeah, I'll go back to the port company. So their transition on fuels, I'm aware that they could careful what I say in public, but they have the opportunity to be looking at hydrogen and conversion of, because hydrogen's a lot easier to convert on big vehicles and cranes and stuff, which the numbers I saw stack up and pay for themselves. Why would they not jump at that opportunity?
They are looking at hydrogen along with electric, but it's sourcing the plant is the difficulty. It's not readily available, and also the cost of it at the moment. So it's definitely on their radar, and they are researching it. So
right, okay, happy to have an offline conversation on that one. And then also with the airports offsetting emissions, it didn't make much media, but there's they're trialling a hydrogen program at our airport, along with one in Europe, which is world leading. Weirdly, hardly made the news. And you guys haven't mentioned it as well. So I think they should be flying that flag a little more.
Yeah,
it's in the individual updates in the strategic update.
Oh, you do it then? Okay.
Okay, Yanni? Yep.
Just on page, our agenda 480, it references CCHL will encourage its subsidies to report on and work to show narrowing of the gap between the highest and lowest remuneration in each company. And I just wondered if that was also applicable to CCHL, and given the comment that we just heard in terms of the annual report, whether that would still be flagged as green. And I guess I was just trying to understand, given, like, I think the previous increase in senior executive remuneration for CCHL was quite significant, why we've got that highlighted as green in this quarter.
for CCHL parent.
For CCHL parent, yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, it is green. There is restraint on senior executive remuneration at CCHL parent.
Like about a $70,000 increase.
So you're referring
that
to
no longer applies, but
you're referring to the
Yanni, there is
CEO
a
remuneration.
and perhaps we have
maybe
an
it's a
offline
PX thing,
conversation.
just given the circumstances around that appointment at the moment. Yeah.
More to the question around CCHL encouraging its subsidiaries, but CCHL also have a requirement to look at recording the
So I think
the gap?
sorry, Yanni means the group, not the parent.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, I think he means the parent. Yeah.
But it's said in here it's about the group.
Aren't you talking about?
Yeah.
I mean,
But I'm just
they've got
asking if that
four
also
stars.
applies to
So
the
we
parent.
have, I think
You're talking
that
about
the target, the measure is that CCHL will encourage its subsidiaries to do that, and that is green. We have done that, and we continue to do it.
And to make it clear, we show restraint when we are employing our CEO as well, and that was a heavily negotiated process in a very competitive environment to bring in people with skill sets.
Yeah, and there's one observation I'd make, Yanni, which I think one of your points is a valid one, which is when people are preparing monitoring reports, there is a desire for as much green as you can possibly get. I don't think we should be afraid of red and orange. So that the point of green is, as Tony was saying, is to demonstrate progress is happening, and progress is happening. If we think that there are changes in trends, then that is something we should be prepared to flag.
Okay, I'm happy to move that. Would someone like to second? Aaron will second it. Any discussion? No. All in favour, say aye. Aye. Against? That's carried. Great. Thank you very much. Now, we'll, David, do you want to bring up the resolution for public excluded? Yep. And it just notes we're going to keep Tony, Alex. Oh, you might need to add Tony to that, but Alex and Paul.
Is Tony stay? So currently not. So Tony, you stay?
I can leave.
Well, it's up to you. If we just need to add it into the resolution if Tony's staying.
Not needed.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Okay.
To say if you want.
All right.
Yep. Okay, I'm happy to move. We go into public excluded.
We haven't
Tyler,
seen out
second.
there an hour and a half, so.
Any discussion? All in favour, say aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you.